Okay, here we are again. Um, if you're wondering who I am, I'm nobody. I am just a Christian dude. My dad died during Corona time. It's pretty jacked up how he died. He shouldn't have died. I don't think he should have died at all, because they took away medication that was working and they put him on something else, and he didn't even want to stay in the hospital. They imprisoned there. That's another story. But I've been trying to continue. My dad was a pastor and had formed churches and had a nonprofit organization that helped people and such. So since my father's died, I am trying to continue his mission of sharing God's love, spreading the gospel, so people's souls can be saved. I am probably the worst example of a Christian that you could possibly find. I'm a sinner. I know I'm a sinner, and I do my best not to be a sinner and not to do wrong and do bad things. And but the fact of the matter is, the Bible says that we're still gonna, as long if you say that you're not a sin, that you do not sin, then you're a liar. Because everybody sins until the day we die, and then we'll be born again in perfection, and we won't be able to sin anymore because we'll be perfect, and we'll be like diamonds that have been like pure diamonds that can never be corrupted. So anybody that thinks they're sinless or perfect on the earth, or that they're for some reason better than anyone else, unless you're an airborne paratrooper with 82nd Airborne, then you're not. Everyone on this earth is imperfect, and we need God. We need Jesus, to save our souls. Because no matter how good you are, even if you're the best airborne paratrooper there's always someone better, and no one's better than Jesus Christ. And I had to say airborne paratrooper because I was in the 82nd Airborne Division, and it's an elite unit, and airborne people think they're just better than anyone. And in some ways, you get the best equipment, you have the best training, and my unit went every 82nd Airborne, every objectives that we kept. So Strike Hall was the name of 504th, which I was in. So, which I probably shouldn't have said that, because I don't like to give too much information to internet scammers, because they can take your information and find out stuff about you. And I use this information to screen people like scammers trying to pretend to be my friend and steal my information and my photos from my personal account, which they've done to my brother. And he did like nothing to protect himself, and they massively scammed, like stole his identity, and it's a big mess. I tried to clean it up and help him out with that, and turned into be a bigger mess. And that's another story, and that's not what I'm on this topic about right here. So this topic is about sort of the life cycle of our star. And would you believe it, but there might be a passage about our star going into its next phase. So, start with the verse that we're starting with here. 2 Peter 3:10. It says, okay, well, it's not the one I wanted right here. Where is it? Looking for the verse. Here it is. 2 Peter 3, it's the New Testament. 10 verse, second verse, chapter 10, verse 10 through 18. And it says, in the King James Version, but the day of the Lord will come as a thief in the night, which people believe this is why people believe in the rapture, which there's no biblical support for the rapture. That is just something someone came up with, some church, and people just accepted it as fact, and it was never biblically supported, and it is not. So the rapture is not a thing. And there's a couple verses that come together for a reason why people think it is, but it's not a thing, okay? Anyway, so the day of the Lord will come as a thief in the night, in which the heavens shall pass away with a great noise. So heavens in this case must mean the sky. It says the heavens shall pass away with a great noise, which I'll just read it first and then analyze it. So, but the day of the Lord will come as a thief in the night, in which the heavens shall pass away with a great noise, and the elements shall melt with a fervent heat, and the earth also, and the works therein shall be burned up. This is the King James Version. I have another. Where is it? I like to go to the original text, which I believe is in Greek in this case. Where is it? I'm sorry, I had this prepared, but somehow it got mixed up. I like to have the it breaks down several different verses here. I have it here something. Well, I'm a little bit disorganized here, I guess. Maybe it's over here. Nope. Anyway, so that's fine. That's enough. So, I like to compare the different translations for a better, clear understanding, because different languages, like I know a second language. I can speak German, and German words sometimes they're a more complete idea in one word. Sometimes there's the words like this long, but it's a complete idea in one word. And sometimes reading the German Bible, I like learn more about what I know of the Bible by reading it in the German, which it was translated by Martin Luther into German from another language, which I forget. I know this because I was at the museum where he had a lot of his writings, and anyway, so according to this verse, it says, heaven shall pass away with a great noise, and the elements shall melt with a fervent heat, and also the works therein shall be burned up. Some verses say the earth will be laid bare, but the great noise is part of it, and the elements melting, right? Some people say it's the earth melting, and some people think that the elements are like things that you use to worship God, so like a church burns up. But I think this has more to do with science and the life cycle of our solar system and our sun. Because, I mean, you can go ahead and look at videos about this because there's a lot of them on the internet. Okay. The toast is done. Okay, so let's see. So here's the life cycle of our Earth, right, of our sun. So it started as a stellar nebula where God swirled it all together and said, let there be light, and then there was light, and then there was turning, and then there was a day and the night, and then the sun formed, and then moon and such. So right here is where we're at. But the sun is going to go red giant, because the fuel, the sun eventually is going to run out of fuel. And people think it's going to be billions and billions of years, and they don't think about how close we might be, because we don't know how much fuel, there's no fuel gauge on the sun to tell us how much fuel it has, because it's inside of it. And this fuel will burn up, and then the sun will turn into a red giant, maybe a red supergiant, I don't know. And then it'll become a planetary nebula, and then it'll be a white dwarf, right? So, whether or not the Earth survives this depends on how big of a red giant our sun becomes. There are verses that say that the Earth will be there forever, and then this verse says the elements will melt, right? It doesn't say it will be completely destroyed. It says it will be melt and be laid barren, or as that verse said, what did it say? The works therein shall be burned up. So that kind of tells us that things that we've done here will all be eliminated. Like everything on the earth is going to be, everything we work for and done here, gone. For me, this is a good reason to have like Elon Musk start building a space ark so we can go further out in the solar system and some of humanity can survive this. Those that want to. I mean, Noah wasn't a rich dude and everybody made fun of him. I mean, he's a hard worker and only him and his family survived. So maybe somebody builds a rocket and a space ark and goes and saves humanity from this event. I know it sounds like sci-fi, right? It sounds like totally like sci-fi, but it says, the heavens shall pass away with a great noise. The elements shall melt with a fervent heat, and the earth also and the works therein shall be burned up. So, okay, let's look at. So the sun goes supernova, and it burns the earth. So some models say that the earth is just going to be completely burned up because it's going to be inside the red giant. It's going to be inside the circle where the red giant gets bigger. I think maybe it goes out as far as Jupiter. So the inner solar system is going to be swallowed up by the sun. That depends on how much fuel is in our star, our sun. So maybe, but maybe not. If you take other verses in context, then the earth will exist after this, because there's another story about the New Jerusalem and that how there's like New Jerusalem circling the earth, and it's kind of like, for me, it looks like it describes a Borg cube, except shiny and beautiful, and not like a big black, cube full of drones and technology, but like a beautiful, shining cube. It measures it. And maybe it's not a cube, maybe just diamond shape. I don't know. But for me, it's the closest sci-fi thing I can think of that would make it like, it's like a Borg cube, right? And roughly maybe the size of a Borg cube next to it. It's in the Revelations if you want to look it up. But so let's see. Nope. That's not at all what I'm looking for. So anyway, the sun, our sun is going to go at some point. It's going to turn into a red giant. That's just, we can see other star systems that this happens to. And it would tend to, if you believe the Bible's true, right? And I'm like trying to reconcile science with the ancient record of creation and prophecies of, what's going to happen to the earth. Because a lot of prophecies in the Bible have happened, a lot. Like I think it's somewhere over 200, maybe 500. A lot of prophecies, things that were predicted, happened in the Bible, and so it's like, right? So it says it's going to be burned up, and everything's going to be laid empty, laid barren. I'm just going to go look this verse up again real quick. So what would that look like? Would anyone survive? Apparently, some people would survive because there's going to be there's going to be people living for 1,000 years with God, like hanging out, chilling, on New Jerusalem. There's going to be people that have lived in the presence of God for 1,000 years, and the devil gets locked up for 1,000 years, and he's released to tempt people again at the end of this 1,000-year reign. So anyway, Let me look for my verses here. So, just gonna look it up again. Elements shall melt with fervent heat. Verse. And let's go. Verse. Here we go. Bible Hub. I guess one of right. Here we go. So we have multiple translations here. So the Lord will come like a thief in the night. The heavens will disappear with a roar. So just think about it when the sun goes supernova, right? It's going to be like an explosion. There's going to be a shock wave. Probably a sound, right? So the heavens will disappear. I think that's going to be the shock wave and the roar, like a big sound. New International Version says heavens will disappear with a roar. So it's probably going to like rip away the atmosphere, like at least part of it. And the New Living Translation says the heavens will pass away with a terrible noise, and the elements themselves will disappear in fire, and everything on it will be found to deserve judgment. So it says the heavens will pass away with a roar. The heavenly bodies will be burned up and dissolved. So maybe Mercury, Venus, and maybe even the moon, and the earth and the works that are done will be exposed. So this verse says exposed. And it says the earth and its works will be laid bare. The elements will be destroyed by fire. So this sounds very much like a cataclysmic event where the sun runs out of fuel, goes supernova with a shock wave, terrible noise, and the heavens will be ripped away. And the earth will be laid bare, and everything that we've done here on the planet will be like destroyed. So, I mean, how would you prepare all of our stuff that we built to withstand the sun sending out a shockwave when it goes to its next phase of its life? So, like, let's see this stuff. The sun will go supernova. So anyway, that is the verse, and it's something to think about. Here's something that people think, like, after that happened and the sun goes back to, some of these websites don't like to show me stuff. I don't know if you can see that. This is like a skyline, and behind the skyline is a nova. So like, the sun went huge, red giant, and then went down to a nova, and then it's gonna be like a dwarf. Is this one more? Let me see this one. See that one. Yeah. Except for according to the verse, all of this would be destroyed, right? Everything would be laid bare. And maybe that's what it would look like after. I don't know. But if you're gonna like look into a scientific event that might explain this verse that's prophesied what's gonna happen, then that fits perfectly with life cycle of our star. And when it goes red giant, it will definitely melt the heavens and some heavenly bodies, such as Mercury and Venus. They'll be gone. The Earth apparently will survive, but it's going to suffer from it. And it actually doesn't say that all of humanity will be destroyed in this. This doesn't say that we will all die, so I'm sure a lot of people will die, but it doesn't say that all of humanity will die. Like people perhaps on the opposite side of the planet when this happens, will all survive. So like half of the Earth of humanity dies or suffers from this event, and the other side of the planet, humanity survives, but have to deal with all this shock wave tearing away the atmosphere and such. So I know it's just something to think about, and it's a way that this verse prophecy could happen. I mean, I'm not going to go outside and put a like big sign on myself, the end of the world is near, but we really don't know when the sun's going to run out of fuel and this is going to happen. But it might be sooner than later, so maybe it's worth preparing your soul, you know, for the next life. Or maybe it's worth preparing a spacecraft to take humanity further out into the atmosphere, like maybe it's worth setting up a colony on Mars, you know, so that we're further out when this happens. Or maybe, I don't know, Iowa or Pluto, who knows? Who knows how big the red giant will be. According to what is prophesied, the Earth will survive. It's going to suffer for it. It's not going to be the same after. But it should survive this event. Some of the videos you can look up and find of people talking about this say the Earth won't survive because if the sun goes to the red giant big enough, it will swallow the Earth. But that's just one verse, and other verses say what's going to happen later. So anyway, so that is this story, and I have another one that another topic I wanted to get onto. Oh yeah, so this is like ultimate climate change, and there's absolutely zero we can do to prevent this from happening. You can't do enough. I mean, solar panels. You want solar panels? They'll be supercharged, but they'll also be destroyed. So this is the ultimate form of climate change, and the only thing you can do to prepare for it is get straight with God, get a relationship with Christ. So if you're on the wrong side of the planet when that happens, when you die, you will be in a better place and with the Lord, right? And the redeemed. So yeah, there's other topics I'm going to hit on, and this is just stuff that's been percolating in my brain. And anyway, so something to think about.